Everyone, I personally analyzed the latest 2026 observation data transmitted by the James Webb Space Telescope last night and discovered something absolutely massive near the Oort cloud at the edge of the solar system. 3 celestial bodies, presumed to be simple comets, suddenly showed highly abnormal movements. At first, I thought it was a temporary orbital error caused by simple gravitational interference or data noise, so I almost ignored it completely. However, after I meticulously simulated the orbital trajectory, more than 3 times myself, the shocking result proved this was a perfectly calculated artificial change of direction. I confirmed with my own 2 eyes an unbelievable trajectory alteration, bending at exactly 90 degrees, which is absolutely impossible for any natural comet. This clearly means these are not ordinary chunks of ice drifting in outer space, but giant artificial satellites, intentionally steered by someone using a massive thruster. Today, I will thoroughly reveal to you the true identity of these unidentified structures and the terrifying purpose of their approach toward Earth. Now, please open your eyes wide and focus closely on this red warning monitor screen, illuminating this deep space with me right here. When I deeply backtracked the bizarre orbits of these comets, the situation was unfolding much more seriously than I ever expected. These giant celestial bodies were approaching Earth at a terrifying speed, bouncing off the sun's gravity to accelerate. Surprisingly, they were completely disguised outwardly with thick ice and dust, making them absolutely indistinguishable to standard observatory telescopes. When I maximized James Webb's infrared filter and peered inside, I was overwhelmed by extreme anxiety that made my heart stop beating. Just below the ice layer, an endlessly stretching, massive metallic framework and an unidentified power source, vibrating in a constant pattern, were firmly hidden. Everyone, can you actually believe that a giant metal structure reaching 3 times the size of Earth is approaching us disguised as a simple comet? Nobody knows exactly whether these are simple observation probes or giant battleships, with destructive purposes threatening our planet. The more I stared at this overwhelming data, the more I felt a creeping terror, like a giant predator quietly approaching from the deep ocean. Aren't you truly terrified by the fact that the beautiful night sky we looked up at peacefully was actually the most dangerous front line? However, when I carefully decoded the microscopic wavelengths emitted from the surface of this massive structure, that deep fear soon began to turn into immense awe. The power source they are using was an entirely new dimension of energy, far transcending the level of nuclear fusion or antimatter engines we know. When I shifted the frequencies and directly visualized the magnetic field patterns created by this raw energy, an impossibly beautiful geometric structure instantly appeared. It was a highly artistic and overwhelming form that could only be created by beings who perfectly understand the fundamental laws of our universe. Everyone, can you clearly see this flawless extraterrestrial blueprint that humanity's shallow scientific technology cannot even begin to imitate right now? Looking at this dazzling holographic data, I painfully realized once again just how incredibly small and insignificant we are in this vast, unending universe. At the same time, I felt a strange thrill that such a highly developed civilization had finally reached our solar system. After tens of thousands of long years, this might be a magnificent moment that goes far beyond the simple discovery of alien life, overturning all the knowledge and philosophy humanity has built. But what made me the most furiously angry and utterly dumbfounded was the incredibly shameless attitude of the giant space agencies toward this great discovery. When I secretly checked through a highly confidential information network, the major national aerospace agencies already knew about this structure 3 months ago. Despite this, they thoroughly hid the truth by issuing false announcements to citizens worldwide, claiming a simple ice comet would pass by our solar system. Fearing that their vested interests and global power would be shaken, they desperately tried to hide the most important alien encounter in history. You probably cannot even imagine how absolutely furious I was when I directly confirmed the blacked-out lines of this deceptive internal document. Isn't it truly ridiculous that those who loudly proclaimed pure exploration of space are actually controlling the truth in the most closed and selfish way possible? The greed of humans who sealed the mouth of this massive truth, just to protect their petty status, is hundreds of times more terrifying than any unknown alien structure. Facing this absurd paradox, I felt the burning mission to excavate the hidden truth, and inform you grow even stronger inside my furious heart today. At this point, one of the largest and heaviest questions took a definite shape, constantly circling my mind and refusing to ever leave me alone. I firmly believe that you, who have been listening to my story, are also harboring the exact same reasonable doubts quite strongly by this very moment. Why on earth are these three massive structures, carefully aligning their trajectories precisely toward our Earth, traveling across the vast and seemingly endless universe? When I meticulously calculated their trajectories backward, I discovered they departed from three entirely different galaxies and entered our solar system simultaneously. Giant fleets from completely different locations are narrowing their siege toward us, disguised perfectly as comets, moving secretly like a prior promise. Why are they approaching our blue planet so quietly and secretly, even going through the extreme trouble of using such a highly elaborate physical disguise? We still have absolutely no way of knowing whether we are merely prey holding the resources they need, or if they are messengers warning of a cosmic disaster. In the moment these unknown visitors, who flew hundreds of millions of light years, arrive in Earth's orbit, how will the fate of humanity be overturned? However, leaving all these massive mysteries and burning anger completely behind, there is another true tragedy that breaks my heart the most right now. If they decide to attack us with their overwhelmingly superior power, the people who will lose absolutely everything overnight are just ordinary citizens like us. When I quietly looked up at the stars and thought about it, our daily lives and the safety of our loved ones felt too helpless against a cosmic disaster. The fact that this simple, warm daily routine of going to work every morning and having dinner with family might scatter in an instant, like cosmic dust, is terrifying, while those in power hide in secret underground bunkers, seeking only their own survival. It is us citizens who must look up at the sky and pray without knowing anything. The harsh reality that the beautiful Milky Way we always looked up at might someday become a giant tunnel of despair that destroys us hits me hard today. In this vast and freezing universe, our existence, relying solely on a small pale blue dot called Earth to survive, feels far too precarious and deeply pitiful. In this cruel reality where our precious home is threatened, the only thing we can rely on is our warm solidarity and connection with one another. Everyone. The shocking truth of the unidentified structures that I uncovered and showed you today is merely the beginning of a massive cosmic mystery. These unknown threats are terrifying time, bombs that can completely uproot and destroy our peaceful daily lives at any moment. However, there is one thing I deeply realized and absolutely vowed to myself while relentlessly tracking down this dark and dangerous technological secret. We can only prevent the worst possible future if we keep our eyes wide open and thoroughly monitor those who continuously try to hide the truth. I will persistently track down and relentlessly dig into the dizzying dark side of deep space that giant institutions try to conceal from the public. If they try to blind and deceive us with their massive power, we must fiercely fight back with sharp verification and unwavering human solidarity. If you found this critically important breaking news engaging, I earnestly ask you to press the button and subscribe to my channel right now. Your small interest and active sharing will bring this massive truth out and become the strongest shield to protect humanity. Our future depends entirely on our passionate resolve to protect the truth. I will definitely see you again in the next video.